Hi, Nadine. Nice to meet you.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
Congratulations on this latest movie of yours. I thought it was wonderful.
Well, thank you.
It
Thanks so
was
much for going on the journey. I know it can be a heavy film, so I appreciate it.
no, of course. I mean, like I say wonderful, but I mean, I thought it was very well done, and you're writer, director, and starring. So I think you did a great job. I
Thank
can't
you.
imagine wearing all those hats for a feature film like this. So great job.
Thank you.
Opportunity.
Yeah, but I think the girl who started that journey and thought she could wear 33 hats was like very naive, but I'm really happy she was because it was a fun experience, you know?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, and I was I was reading about the backstory, behind the making of Continue and, your personal connection to it, of course. So I was curious. I'd love to hear more from you about the experience of writing and then directing and starring in such an emotionally raw and personal movie.
Yeah, I mean, it started as like a mission, so I think it was definitely a journey because I had never written a script before. And so sometimes as a new writer, you definitely can like lose your confidence and have those moments where you wonder if you have the right to write this script, or anything else. And it just kept coming back in like my bones that um no one was more perfect to write this film because I've been through the depths of hell. Like I have literally been through it and I've come out on the other side. And the number one thing that is so hard about going through that is thinking that you're completely alone and you're the only person who feels that. And so I very distinctly kept that at the forefront of my mind of like, this is not for you. It's for the people that you're hoping to help. This is not about you. It is a message to get people to be here tomorrow, to live another day, so that is what sparked it all and what kept me and my entire team going through production is hard as hell. Like it doesn't matter what film it is, but especially when you're taking on something like this with heavy subject matter. And so it was definitely difficult. It was also difficult because me and my husband and our producing partner, Jay Seals, like it was just us. Like, and me and my husband invested our life savings and we raised every dime of capital. And, you know, we did everything to create this film in such an indie personal way. Because a lot of people were like, the world doesn't want to talk about mental health and suicide prevention. And I was like, I strongly disagree. And we just had to stick to our guns through the entire process um, and just keep fighting essentially. And so that was the process of this entire film. Then we finished the film and the pandemic hits, and you're just like, is this real life? Like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the adversity became double because they're like, if you thought the world didn't want to talk about mental health before, now they really don't want to. They want Ted Lasso, they want to laugh, and all of those things. And again, I had to say I strongly disagree. I think that people are really struggling, and I think they need this message now more than ever. And what's really unfortunate is that I had to basically be proven right through the suicide rates raising and losing a lot of our youth. Um, to finally have people realize what a problem mental health struggles and suicide is, and now I feel like I'm walking into a world that's changing around me and it's being more open and there's a lot more conversations being had. And so I'm just like, I'm so proud that we didn't give up in the process of it because it was really hard. It was really hard. It's hard for anyone to get a movie made, but especially when you're talking about taboo subjects that a lot of people are afraid of being the first, to talk about it.
Of course, yeah. Well, I'm so glad it's finally being released and could you talk about the significance of, the release date and the timing of it? Uh,
Yeah, I had known I was collaborating with Lionsgate and Grindstone for quite some time, but it was really important to all of us that were a part of the film, especially at Lionsgate, and Barry Brooker, Amelia Rogers, everyone, we all unanimously were like, we need to let this film sit for a little bit until we get to September, because that's World Suicide Prevention Month.
Right.
And I knew that that was the time to put this film out. We all did. So yeah, that's why we waited for September, and now it's finally coming into the world. And again, I'm hoping that it really sparks a conversation, especially during this month, for suicide, you know, and also part of the proceeds from this film go to charity. You know, I took my points from writing the film and put them into to go to charity, but not just, I created my own nonprofit, Continue On, which my goal with the nonprofit is to create a subsidy to pay for mental health services for underprivileged youth that can't afford these services. But we also chose other pre-existing nonprofits to share the proceeds with. So, you know, I'm really hoping that this film does more than just inspire with the message, that it'll actually also save lives with the donations that come in from it. So that's why it was also really important to do this during September.
Of course. All right. Yeah, that's wonderful. That sounds great. And yeah, I can't wait for everyone else to see it. And you know, it's a wonder, in addition to yourself, there's a wonderful cast in your movie. And you know, you have some great scenes with Emily Deschanel, who I've always been such a fan of. So I was curious what it was like collaborating with her on this.
Oh my God, she's like a magical person. Which is really funny because I'm so close with everyone from the movie, and like Shiloh Fernandez was also in my next film that I shot after this, and like he's one of my dearest friends. But the person who checks in on me the most and like reaches out with love and support the most is Emily. Like she is such an incredible human being. Not to mention like a ridiculously talented actor who's just like, she's such a pro, you know? And nothing shakes or rattles her, and she's just so game to play. And that is just like such a gift to the person across from her. Like I just felt like I went through an acting school just getting to collaborate with her and be across from her, and see how she works and operates from so many years of being a huge star, you know. And so yeah, she's just an incredible human being.
Of course, yeah. That's great. That's great to hear. And like I said, you know, between Bones and everything else she's been in, she's wonderful. So that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
And
I know, because it can also go the other way. Like you never know who like how people are going to be, right? All people are different.
right,
Um, but to see that like I don't know, she has the same softness that a lot of times her characters, what make us so drawn to her characters is because of that heart and that warmth you can feel, even in a show like Bones, where it's kind of like, you know, procedural, and she's a doctor, and she's almost like type A in that show, and it's just like, and she's so warm and loving, and you know, so yeah, she's incredible.
that's great. And you know, you mentioned your other movie, you know, Desperation Road, which was great. And you know, you were director on that as well. And I interviewed Piper Braun for her latest movie earlier this year, Imaginary. So she was wonderful, and she was chatting about, you know, working with Mel Gibson on your movie, and uh, you know, working with him and how much fun that was. And so I'd love to hear from you what it was like being in the director's chair for that movie as well, and working with Mel Gibson, Piper, and Shiloh again, and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best, one of the best experiences of my life. I mean, Piper's my favorite human being. Like, I'm obsessed with her. We literally talk, like, I know it's also her mom, Danielle. I'm obsessed with her mom as well. Like, we just all vibe. And so I'm constantly trying to cast her in other things. Like I'm in the middle of writing a film right now that you know, we're making, and I'm like, I'm writing it for Piper. I'm like, she's playing the little girl. There's just no one else who could do it. Like she has to play that. You know, she is an immensely talented actress, but also like I'm just like, if this is you at this age, like I can't wait to see what she continues to grow and become. You know, but then to go into like Garrett Hedlund and Willa Fitzgerald and Mel, like, I mean, they're all a dream. They're all really close friends. But Mel in particular, like one of the coolest things is just, A, he's the nicest human being. and he's so understanding and game. And because he's such an immensely talented director, it can be kind of intimidating. But on the other side, that's what makes him so incredible to work with, because he's been there and he's done it. And he's like the biggest like support. And he was like, never complains, because he's like, I get it. You know, we have 15 minutes left, and then lunch hits. And if you come back to this scene, you're completely screwed. So like, use and abuse me, you know. It was just like, he's so awesome. And he was playing tag with my son in between takes, and it's just like not what you expect when you're getting a giant movie star in your movie. And then on top of that, like, to hear him talk about directing a movie, and like when we did ADR, he was shooting the movie that he's about to put out with Lionsgate as well. And every time I hear him talk about filmmaking, I just realize like we are all exactly the same. Like when he would start to have moments of doubts, or he'd have like, he'd be saying things, I'm like, oh my God, it's so amazing to know that he, like Mel Gibson also has fear, you know, like, oh, he feels this too. Okay. Like, so it's good to know that this feeling will never go away. So I just need to learn how to continue to move forward, even though sometimes you're like, how am I going to do this? You know?
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, when I chatted with Piper, she was saying how hilarious Mel is, which, I just don't know these things. I just see him, killing it on the big screen in all these movies. So it's, and then hearing how he's like a funny and, family guy, and understand all these great things, behind the scenes as well. It's always nice to hear.
Yeah, it really is. Also like that he is a parent and all of those things. And like, so he knows how to be around and like play with children and all of the things, but also like Piper's really into jokes, like knock knock jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And like he pulled out dad jokes for days. Like he'd whisper to us like an adult joke, and he's freaking hilarious. But then like she'd walk up and he'd be like, what's a, like knock knock joke that's just like so perfect for Piper's age, So it was just like, yeah, he's amazing.
It's great. If you're able to, I'd love to hear you mention that project you're writing and working on. Are you able to share anything about that, if it has a working title or anything like that?
Yeah, well, that one in particular that I was talking about is Darkest Before the Dawn. It's a film that I'm creating. My two EPs on this film, Olivia Allen and Rachel Bilson, are my two best friends. And so I came up with this concept because I wanted all three of us to make a movie together and act in it together. And so I'm writing that film, but that's definitely like, that won't be my next one. I'm in the middle of casting two films right now that I'm super excited about. One of them is my opus, like that is kind of based on personal experiences from my life again, and these letters that I've written my son since he was born. And the movie is called Dear Son. So that's one I'm really excited about, and Vanished. And I mean, I actually have three films casting right now because I have another film, Love Me to Oblivion, that I'm really, really excited about. And crazy enough, I didn't think that'd be my next one, but all of a sudden it has a lot of traction and the casting's moving quickly. So, like in our industry, it's like the one you think is next is never next. Like it almost always is like the one that you didn't think was going to be anytime soon. That all of a sudden is like, hi, it has legs, and now we're chasing after it, and that looks like where we're going. So, that's always like the funnest part of the whole process, is thinking that we know best and thinking we know what's next. And then the universe is like, just kidding.
And then
So
for me, yeah. And then for me, I'm like, I think I have the timeline correct going into the interview. And they're like, no, that one was shot first. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, never mind.
I know. Well, and that one throws a lot of people for a loop. And I always say it's like really funny because I thought it was like the end of the world that my second film was beating my first film out. But if
Right.
it had happened any other way, I wouldn't have gotten continue with Lionsgate and Grindstone.
Yeah.
So it was actually my second film, which gave my first film a home.
Right.
So yeah, and it's so funny because it was like, it would definitely be those moments, especially when I was doing press for that film, where they're like, and your debut film, and I'm like, technically I've already had a debut at festivals, but this is my second debut. And then when Continue came out now, and they're like, your debut film, but Desperation Road already please? I'm like, I know, it's weird. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, such is life. Such is the biz, you know. But that's
Exactly.
great. Yeah, I mean that's exciting. I can't wait for those upcoming projects. And in the meantime, congratulations again on Continue. That's just a wonderful project.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, and let's do this on the next one.
Yes, I can't wait. I'll see you again.
Yes, see you again. Thanks again.